Hi everyone, this is Melissa from Melissa Made, and I want to thank Sheila for letting me share with you today a quick little something. I'm actually going to be coming back from vacation the day that this post goes live, and with that in mind, I started thinking about what are some time savers that I like, and even some space savers that kind of help me in my craft. If you look at this little card right here, I love this card actually. This is probably one of my favorite cards that I've ever created. The stamp is a Some Odd Girl stamp, and you'll notice that her green dress matches the green pattern paper that I chose. Now, one of the things that I like to do for my Copic markers is I like to keep a chart that has each color in a box, and they're also kind of coordinated by their color family. And the reason I like to have a chart like this, just aside from my markers, is so that I can see the true color of each marker. So that when I find a good paper that I really like, if I want to coordinate an image, I can do so. All I have to do is take the paper and kind of line it up against these little blocks that I have, so I can pick a good color combo that's going to match the paper that I choose. And so you can see in this image that sure enough, the paper is almost an identical match to her clothing, and I love that. So one of the tips that I would suggest for anyone who has their own set of markers is to start a chart like this. Copic.com has a nice chart that you can use, and I would also suggest printing it on the paper that you typically will color on, because that will allow you to know for sure exactly the color that's going to come out on your paper. I also do this with all my Tim Holtz Distress inks, because if I want to have a pretty paper and then I want to ink the edges, well, do I want the edges to look like old paper, or do I prefer them to have more of a walnut stain look, or even a vintage photo? And when you have them all laid out like this, you really save a lot of time on trying to choose different colors. So actually I'm going to show you really fast how I made this little chart with two of my favorite inks for stamping, and Memento ink is really good for using Copics with. It won't run, it won't bleed, it's perfect. I also have VersaFine, and VersaFine is a great ink for doing sentiments. But I want to show you, they're both brown. One's called Rich Cocoa. The VersaFine is called Vintage Sepia, and the thing is, they look the same virtually. The color brown here looks the same as the color brown here. But I want to show you how different they really are from each other. And what I usually do is I like to write the name of the inks on my paper, and then I take a Q-tip, dab it into the ink, and just make a little circle. Sorry, I'm using my left hand so I can hold my camera. So if it looks a bit strange, that's why I'm not left-handed. And now I'll try the VersaFine. Grab my Q-tip, dab it in, rub it on the paper. Now you can see how very different these colors are. I hope you can see this. The VersaFine is a very light kind of reddish brown, whereas the Memento kind of almost has a grayish hint to it. And so the reason why it's important to have your colors out beforehand is because if I want to match, let's say, a paper such as this with one of these browns, what's going to look best? I can actually take, I think, the opposite side of this paper. This is Echo Park paper. I love it. And I can match these browns. It actually looks like the Memento is going to be a much closer match to the Sepia. And I'm going to share with you another technique on paper saving right now. So I have this Echo Park paper, and a lot of times I've already made a card out of this paper. A lot of times you have scraps about this size, maybe a little bit bigger. What I like to do ahead of time is cut my scraps down either for a 5x5 card or for an A2 card, because those are mainly the two cards that I work with, A2 and 5x5. So with a piece of paper like this, this probably wouldn't work for a 5x5. It would be better for an A2 card. So I would take a piece of paper like this and cut it down. So typically I have a card base, such as this, that I'll use, that's nice and big, that I can fold in half and make an A2, and I like the edges to show. And so if I like the edges to show, that means that this can't be any wider than about a 4 and no longer than about a 5.5, because remember, an A2 card base such as this one is 4 1/4 by 5.5, and actually I've cut this so it's 4 1/4 by 11 inches so that I could fold it in half to actually create the card. So I would cut my base down then, and then I would store this so that if I need a quick card, not only am I having my scraps used because they're actually ready to use, but I also save a bit of space by trimming off the junk that I'm not going to be using in the end. And another thing I like to do is save things like this little ribbon. This came off of a box of chocolates, I think, that I got for my birthday. So I take this ribbon, it's already got a really pretty cute knot in it. It's ready for a card, except for, you know, the adhesive. So I like to keep things like this. Now for a space-saving trick. Sheila loves this too. I got these little boxes at Michael's. They are 4x6 photo storage boxes, and I like to keep almost everything I have in them. They're convenient, and you can see that for stickles, they hold about 6 stickles this way, and you can actually put more up here. The reason I like to do them like this is because these little boxes go into a larger container like this. It's just a photo keeper that holds the 4x6s. And then when I put these down in to the photo box, you can see that they're all upside down so that the stickles are at the bottom, so that way when you pull them out they're ready to use. So that's just a quick space saver idea that I really like. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put together a little card for you, just based on some scraps that I have that I've already got cut. I didn't even have to cut these. They're this size, they're perfect for a card, and I just pulled them out because I'm going on vacation and I need to have a quick project. So I'm going to put this card together for you so you can see what just having some scraps cut to the appropriate size can do for you. Thank you. Have a good day.